Think of your last bad hire. Did they lie to you in the interview, or did you just not know the right question to ask? Most interviews only tell you if someone can do the job on paper. They don't tell you if they'll own the job when things go sideways. In this video, I'm going to walk you through a 3-layer A player interview framework you can use to separate A players from B players before you make the offer, not 3 months after they're on your payroll. By the end, you'll have the exact questions to ask, what to listen for, and one exercise to customize for your business this week. If we haven't met, I'm Dr. Shannon Irvine. I've been a business owner for over 20 years. I'm the author of the best-selling book, The 67-Day Year, and I help established business owners build self-scaling companies that can grow without them being glued to every decision and every fire. So if you're somewhere between about 150K to 3 million in revenue with a real team, and you keep ending up with nice hires who still hand every problem back to you, this is for you. You're not bad at spotting talent. You haven't just had a simple way to test for ownership capacity until now. So let's start with the first layer. So layer number 1 is competence. Can they technically do the job? This is where 90% of interviews stop, and it shouldn't be. So you absolutely need a basic filter. Do they have the skills, the experience, the track record? Can they do the job? But here's the trap. A strong layer 1 answers can only hypnotize you into ignoring the most important layers. That's how you end up with someone who sounds great on paper, has all the right bullets on their resume, and still can't own an outcome to save their life without you. So here's some scripted questions, like walk me through your experience with insert the skill that you need for the role. Or what's a project that you led that is closest to what this role will require? You're going to score this a pass or fail. That's it. If they fail here, they're done. If they pass, they move on quickly. But here's where the real separation starts next. For leadership roles, I always test metrics fluency here. I'll ask, so what were the 3 to 5 numbers on your scorecard in your last role? And what did you do when one of them went red? They can't answer that clearly. They probably don't have real operating experience in that role. Layer 1 qualifies them for the conversation, but it should never be the reason that you hire someone. So layer 2 is ownership behavior. Now, here's the key with ownership behavior. Layer 2 is where you stop asking, can they do the tasks? And you start asking, do they act without being told when something breaks? This is where A players and B players start to separate. So here's the core question here. So tell me about a time that something went wrong that wasn't technically your job to fix. What did you do? Then be quiet. Let them tell the story. Uncover who they really are. So what do you listen for when they're telling the story? Well, an A player is going to answer. They're going to name the moment that they noticed something was off. They'll tell you the decision that they made, and they'll describe the action that they took and the outcome without anyone asking them to. A B player answer, very, very different. They describe the problem in detail when they escalate and wait for direction or let someone else act. You're not just listening for awareness, you're listening for unprompted action. This is the separator right here. I call this post-traumatic B player syndrome. You make the hire, you hand them the role. 3 months later, you realize, oh my goodness, they always see the problem. They never truly own the fix or the outcome. That's not because you're a bad judge of character. It's because you never tested for ownership behavior in the interview. So doing this layer fixes that. So some optional follow-ups you can do here is things like, what did you do in the first 24 hours? Or who else did you involve and why? Or if you could go back, what would you do differently? You're checking if their default is this is my problem now, or this is someone else's problem. So you're checking for that discrepancy in how they think after the fact. So a strong layer 1 with a weak layer 2 is the classic B player profile. Technically solid, emotionally safe in the interview, and is still handing everything back to you once they're actually in the role itself. So now I want to talk about layer 3. This is decision-making capacity. Layer number 3 in decision-making capacity is the one almost nobody builds. Can a person make a real decision in the kind of messy situations your business actually has? Not on a whiteboard, in the real world. So how on earth do you build your layer 3 questions? Well, rule number 1 is it must be real, like pulled from an actual situation in your business. Rule number 2 is it must be unresolved. There is no clean textbook answer that you're looking for here. And rule number 3 is it must be a decision, not a task. If there's only one right way to do it, it's not testing ownership. So what are some examples here? It's the afternoon of a big shipping day and you discovered 200 units of our bestseller was mispicked and you've already boxed. What do you do in the next 30 minutes? So you see how you have to have them think decisions? You notice maybe this is one. You'll notice the cohort's completion rate has dropped sharply halfway through the program and the next live session is tomorrow. What do you do before that? Or maybe a prospect is ready to buy but is asking for concessions outside of your standard terms and your manager is unreachable. What do you do? So do you see how this is prompting decision making? So here's what you listen for in terms of the A player in this layer. So you want to listen for the A player will commit to a call, explains their reasoning, names what they'd want to know before to be confident, to be more confident. And a B player answers very, very differently, hands the decision right back. What would you want me to do? Lists a bunch of options without choosing one. You are not grading them against the way you handled it. You are grading, do they decide at all? Something most people never ever think about in their interviews. So in the workshop where we teach this, the hardest part for most business owners isn't scoring the candidate. It's writing their own third layer scenario. And the truth is, you can't interview someone for ownership capacity you haven't defined for yourself yet. So that's not a failure. That's just the work that you get to do, is really defining, what does it mean to own it? What does it mean to have a decision-making layer? So here's an exercise. Let's do this together right now. Grab a pen, open up a note, and answer these 3 prompts. For the role, what role are you hiring for next? The real decision. Think of one real moment from your business where something went wrong or needed a judgment call that you would love to hand off next time. And a question here, turn it into a question that you can ask in the interview. So an example of this might be, the role is a program coach. The real decision is the client missed 2 sessions and went quiet. Question might be, a client has missed 2 sessions in a row with no explanation. What do you do before their next scheduled time? That's your first layer 3 question. You can refine it later, but the most important part is that it's real and it's unresolved. Getting to the real, how do they operate, own, and decide. So how do you actually score this and how do you use it? So here's how you put this into an actual interview, not just a nice, good idea. Layer 1, in competence, it's a pass or fail. Either they have it or they don't. A fail here ends the process. Layer 2, which is ownership, the behavior. You're going to score 1 to 5. You're looking for that unprompted action, not just awareness. And the third layer, which is decision capacity, you're also going to score 1 to 5. Weight your final decision heavy here. A candidate with a strong layer 1 and a weak layer 2 or 3 is exactly the profile behind your last painful hire. Confident, credentialed, and unable to own outcomes without direction. That's who this framework is designed to actually filter out. So here's your next step. Don't build a 47 question interview guide. Do this instead. Add a layer 2 ownership question to your next interview. Write 1 layer 3 scenario for your next open role this week and score your next candidate on all 3 of those layers before you make your next hiring offer. And if you want help, I've put 2 free resources for you in the description. The A Player Interview Question Bank, a complete set of ready-to-use questions by industry and role, and the A Player Interview Session Guide, a 1-page reminder of these 3 layers and how to score them before every interview. Use them to upgrade your next hire, not your 20th, okay? And if you want to go deeper and build a team that actually runs the business without needing you, your next step really is the free self-scaling business diagnostic, where we'll score your team, your CEO system, your team system, and your profit scaling system, so you know exactly which roles need true owners next. The links to join that are below the video. And tell me in the comments, what's 1 real decision from your business you're going to turn into that decision layer in the interview questions this week. All right, there it is. How do you differentiate between A players and B players in the interview and never hire a B player again? All right, that's what I have for you this week. Go ahead and register for the Self-Scaling Business Diagnostic, where we'll deep dive into your specific business and your system's capacity to scale. Until I see you there live, bye for now.